Living in the Sacramento area, the three R's could easily coordinate their fire department schedules, and of course the dogs always wanted to work, but you can't exactly have a rubble pile on standby. There's no way to just throw together a few tons of collapsed concrete or inflate a pile of twisted steel. For this reason, one area of training we really hadn't been able to cover was searching on a real rubble pile. All the hours on obstacles and agility courses wouldn't amount to much if the dogs couldn't perform on the real course. The firefighters knew they needed to get out on rubble, so they made it happen. They descended on recycling centers and city dumps and talked attendants into letting them run the dogs over trash piles and lumber stacks. The firefighters would come home happy but smelling like trash. They befriended demolition crews around the Sacramento area. At first, these crews worried about liability. Destroyed buildings are dangerous places, after all. But eventually, the crews would end for the day and hand it over to the search teams with one request. Just make sure we don't find any bodies here in the morning. The dogs ate up the new time on rubble and refined their skills, so the firefighters increased the intensity. They tried everything. Training under time limits, training cold searches without prior knowledge. One would organize the rubble pile location and the buried victims, and the others would show up last minute and start searching immediately, just like an emergency deployment. Sometimes they wouldn't even have victims, because more often than not, that is what happens in a real disaster. The dogs had to get used to searching and searching with no live finds. The teams trained at night, in low light with flashlights and chemical glow lights, experimenting with different tools and techniques with the dogs. They brought in a field trials expert to teach them the nuances of e-collar work. They experimented with different reward toys. For Anna and Dusty, the toy of choice was a section of old fire hose that Rick and Randy sewed together, stuffed with socks. Harley preferred something softer and fuzzy. Beanie Babies became his favorite, so Rob came to tote pocketfuls of bright and smiley stuffed animals. He had to bear the heckling from the other handlers, of course, but if it helped his dog, Rob didn't care. He would have happily juggled the toys while singing falsetto. The teams came up with new places to test their dogs. They searched the ball pits and fun houses. They even searched the Piedmont jailhouse, abandoned before it was to be demolished, in the dead of night. The jail was underground, so it had absolutely no ambient light. Talk about creepy. The teams approached each training session like they would deploy the next day. When the firefighters spoke of their training, they always held that they needed to conduct each search like it was for a member of their own family. When it came down to it, one day they would be searching for someone's family member. The dogs flourished. They loved searching, and now that they had a positive environment, a stable home, and a loving owner, they were thriving. It didn't take long for the media to catch wind of a group of firefighters who were lingering around demolished buildings with dogs that ran over rubble like saving angels. One evening, a news crew joined the firefighters as they searched a freshly demolished mall complex. When the reporter cornered the teams and started asking questions, a normally reticent Rob Seema stepped up to the microphone with Harley by his side. "We train because we have one shot at this, and you don't want to miss," he said. "And these dogs don't miss." It was a philosophy the teams took to heart. If the day came, they would be ready. Rick might just need a few extra pairs of gloves. Gloves or not, in May 1997, Rick thought Anna was ready for her FEMA Basic Disaster Canine SAR certification. She had been training for only 7 months, and together with Rick for only 4 months. Certifying now would be the equivalent of going from Pee Wee League to the pros in less than a year. It was unheard of. Anyone who had not seen Anna's search dismissed it as a fantasy. Even those close to the team had their reservations. But Rick trusted Anna. She checked every box on every search without fail. On the morning of May 18th, Rick opened Anna's crate at a rubble pile of crushed concrete near Sacramento. An ever-tranquil Anna did a few concise stretches and looked to Rick with the electric gleam that let him know she was ready to go to work. And God help any soul that stood in her way. Before them were 3 elevated platforms, an agility course, 2 sprawling rubble piles of concrete slabs, shattered wood, and twisted pipes. Multiple evaluators stood around the course, clipboards ready. Anna first went through basic obedience commands, a snooze fest for her. Then came a direction and control test where she would ascend one of the 3 elevated platforms, wait for a command from Rick, and follow a specified pattern around and to the next platform, about 25 yards away.